Our brain is an incredibly capable thing and it's always growing. But to make sure it's growing in the right way, in the best possible way, there's some key ideas to think about. Let's look at an amazing story from history to demonstrate this. It's New York City in 1959, and there's a professor by the name of Pedro Baccarita. One day Pedro had a stroke, and this resulted in a massive bleed in his brain. Pedro was paralyzed on one side of his body, and doctors told him that he'd never make a full recovery. His son George, who was also a doctor, well, he had other ideas. George knew that if he put the hard work into helping his dad, he could help him make a recovery. George first started by spoon feeding him to teach him how to eat again, and then helping him crawl to teach him how to walk again. One technique that George used was to help his dad sweep the porch. He first helped him to get a quarter of the way across the porch, and then Pedro was able to do it himself for half the porch, and eventually he got him to do it for 3/4 of the porch. Pedro eventually made a full recovery. He got back to teaching as a professor, and he did die eventually at the age of 73, but he died on the top of a mountain, 6,000 feet in the air, climbing that mountain. Now, even though Pedro had a massive stroke, his brain and the way it changed wasn't much different to the way that your brain will change. He has about 86 billion neurons, just like you. The way his brain changed was with 4 key ingredients. The first was he tried new things with the sweeping. The second was he took things slowly. The third was that he repeated things over and over and over again to help those brain cells connect and grow strong pathways between them. And the fourth thing was that he did it within a strong relationship, and this time it was with his son George. And we need those 4 ingredients to help grow our brains. Let's think about a super important pathway in your brain as a young person that you need to grow. And that's the pathway between our smart brain, or our prefrontal cortex, and our emotional brain, or our amygdala. When we have connections between these 2 parts of our brain really starts to grow in the best possible and healthiest way. We can think about the connections between our emotional brain and our smart brain as going vertical. Our emotional brain exists at the bottom of our brain, and our smart brain exists at the top. We need these 2 brain areas connecting together and talking to each other in order to make good decisions in the world. If we lived our life purely in emotional brain mode, life could be pretty fun, but it could also be pretty messy. It'd be like driving a Ferrari without brakes. It'd be very easy to crash. We need these 2 brain areas talking together with these projection neurons. And there's a very good reason for this. As cavemen, we live much of our life in emotional brain mode, running away from saber-toothed tigers. But we learn over the course of our evolution that this becomes pretty tiring, and a much easier way would be to outsmart those saber-toothed tigers. So we learned that connecting our emotional brain and our smart brain was actually the most efficient way to live, and it helped us survive. But now as kids living in this society, it's not just about survival. Connecting these 2 brain areas actually helps us to thrive. So we want to go out and create those connections between our smart brain at the top and our emotional brain at the bottom. So here's my takeaway challenge. I want you to think about the picture that you saw in the video with the smart brain and the emotional brain, and I want you to draw that in your wall. Actually, I take it back. Your parents might be pretty angry with me if you do that. I want you to draw it on a picture and stick it on your wall. And what I want you to think about is making smart brain choices. Every time you make a smart brain choice, draw a neuron or a brain cell from your emotional brain to your smart brain. So one choice, draw 1 neuron. When you make the next choice, connect it up to that neuron as you go up, kind of like climbing a ladder. The whole idea here is the more smart brain choices you make, the better your brain will function, because the more connection you'll have between those 2 brain areas. The kind of brain choices that you can make, the smart brain choices you can make, are being kind to people, putting in effort, trying something a bit harder than you're usually used to trying. Whatever it might be, give it a go, and I'll see you next time around.